All right, good morning, everyone. Morning, ladies. Great to have everyone here on this wonderful Tuesday. It is truly no coincidence that we're hosting this event one day before Hari Kemerdekaan or our Independence Day here in Indonesia. One of the things we firmly believe is that this Independence Day is a reminder of freedom and its fullness, right? So freedom also means the empowerment of Indonesians to make their own decisions, inclusive of men and women alike. So today's topic is a topic that's near and dear to the firm's heart, investing in women and supporting female founders in tech. These intentional conversations are really meaningful because it paves way to change the inequity that women still experience, unfortunately, in the tech industry. Today's panel and networking session is a part of East Ventures Women with Impact program, launched earlier this year. The program aims to support Southeast Asia's women founders within the tech and investment industries in ideating and developing business and key goals. Women with Impact is part of EV's commitment as a firm to support gender equity and equality and empowering all women as outlined in the SDGs in specifically number 5, if you're really curious. With that being said, I have a panel today of incredible pioneers, women in the industry, and I'd love to invite them one by one. Can we all just have a round of applause for our speakers? Tessa Wijaya, co-founder and COO of Zendit. Please, Tessa, you can feel free to come forward. Can we give her a round of applause, ladies? Yeah, women supporting women. We love that. Next up, we're going to call up Bu Veronica Kolondam, founder and CEO of Yayasan Cinta Anak Bangsa, YCAB Foundation and YCAB Ventures. Oh, there she is in all her glory. Next up, we have Nisha Subwangli, Venture Capital Business Development Manager of ASEAN at AWS. And last but certainly not least, our very own Avina Sugiarto, partner at East Ventures. All right, wonderful, wonderful. So, I have given a brief introduction of each one of you, just your job title, but you are more than your job title. We firmly believe that at the firm. So I'd love to kind of pass on the mic. Maybe we can start from Nisha, and you can give a quick 1 to 2 liner of who you are and anything you'd like for this wonderful audience to know about you.
Sure, definitely. So thank you for having me here. My name is Nisha. I'm currently VC Venture Capital Business Development Manager for AWS as part of the startup business development team. I used to be a startup co-founder since 2013, raised about $10 million in the OTT space, so think Netflix clone. And then we kind of weren't able to raise the next round, which was a 30 mil round. Did a brief stint with the VC, and then I'm here at AWS.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Nisha. We'll pass it on to Veronica.
Hi. He got it. She got it. She was confused how to address me.
I'm so sorry in advance.
No, don't worry about it. I just feel younger, so thank you.
Absolutely.
For, being a professional, Stacey, today. So hi everyone, Veronica here. I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm probably the age of your moms. So I'm definitely the oldest in the room. That's kind of intro. Social entrepreneur, YCAP Foundation, then YCAP Ventures now with Adele over there, my daughter. Just raised, hello. The second next gen kind of collaboration in creating impact and women focus in the last 10 years, I think, before the gender lens was even gender lens was actually popular. So we've created impact in the lives of almost actually 5 million youth. Bottom of the pyramid, helping the mothers to actually help them to stay in school. So we use microfinance as a means to an end to enable education for those at the bottom of the pyramid. We've worked with more than 500,000 families to date, and that's just from the YCAP Foundation. But YCAP Ventures is now focused also in investment simply because we are OJK regulated and we kind of have to. At first, it was daunting. We were not sure to go into the equity-like investment because we're all, like to just do the financing part, which is the microfinance, but then it was regulated and we have to spend at least 15% of the business into impact. So because we are all impact driven, so we thought impact investment would be a great kind of segue into the business, and we're probably destined to do both impact investment and financing for women at the bottom of the pyramid, ultra micro size, and the foundation runs the education component related and tie it all together, both the education of the children, of the mothers that we serve, also the financial literacy of the mothers that we serve as the current borrowers. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Tessa?
All right, thank you. Don't worry, Veronica. I think we're not as young as you think. Avina and I were just speaking. We've known each other
you guys all
for
look
like
so young.
Yeah.
So, clap to you, great.
So yeah, Avina and I have known each other for about 12 years now. Wow, I was surprised. I was like, no, it can't be. Anyway, my name's Tessa. I'm CEO and co-founder at Zendit. I'll tell you a little bit about Zendit and about then how I was able to co-found Zendit. So basically, Zendit's a payment infrastructure player. We built the piping, the sewage pipes that's required for payments, basically to move from one place to another, in country in Indonesia, as well as cross-border. We're proud now to be present in Indonesia as well as Philippines, with an eye to expand out to other parts of Southeast Asia. A lot of you guys may not have quite heard of us because we're B2B. What this means is we provide these services for other businesses. But I'm really proud to be building this infrastructure because without money being able to move, really, how can the Indonesian economy turn, right? So that impact that we've made has been truly amazing. We process about $15 billion worth of payments a year, which is quite a lot of money moving through our platform. So again, extremely, extremely proud to be here today. As for me, I started out in investment with Avina here. We used to work for one of the first homegrown private equity funds. Sort of met Moses and the other two co-founders who all of them came from Berkeley. Really got sold on that mission, and suddenly we're here today. We are one of the, I think right now, 10 and counting unicorns in Indonesia. Wow. Extremely proud, yeah. Yeah, I'm the first female co-founder to have brought a company in Indonesia to become a unicorn again. Wow. So we all can. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tessa. Pioneering the way for the women founders in this room. Avina?
Wow, what can I say after all these amazing ladies' introductions, right? Okay, hi everyone. My name's Avina. As Tessa mentioned, we used to work together when I was actually just starting the career 12 years ago in investment space in a private equity firm in Indonesia. We have a few of our colleagues here as well who actually came from the same firm. So, networks and building relationships there is very, very important because you don't know, who 12 years before, where you will be 12 years later, right? At East Ventures, we are a seed and growth platform. We are investing across sectors in technology verticals. We have over $1 billion of AUM. Our latest fund is $550 million, of which $150 million is allocated for seed and $400 million is allocated for growth investments. So very happy to meet all of you female founders here in this room. We also have amazing female VCs here in this room as well. So hopefully we can foster more collaborations, discussions, networking this event.
Awesome. Can we give these amazing ladies a round of applause? We're just gonna be clapping a lot today because that's the spirit of this event. It's women supporting women. And I'm realizing I never introduced myself, so I'm gonna introduce myself so that you know me, so that you guys like are like, who is this random person talking up with all of these incredible legendary women? I do not have nearly as much industry experience of any of these amazing women, but allow me to introduce myself. My name is Stacey Untoro. I will be your host this morning. It is my honor and privilege to represent the East Ventures family here. I work as a VP of investments and just really excited to have this conversation. So before we start, maybe we can get to know the room a little bit. How many of you are founders in this room? Can you just quickly raise your hand? Be proud, ladies. Awesome. Okay, look around. So many founders. Awesome. And can you quickly raise your hand for me if you are an investor? All right, a good representation in our team. Awesome. Also deserving of a clap. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Since there is a huge representation of founders here, I would love to direct my first question here at Tessa. So Tessa, a recent study conducted by BCG this past year showed that the tech industry has become relatively a little bit more diverse. Women make up 28% of the tech sector workforce worldwide and 32% in Southeast Asia. However, it's no secret, like you said, that only a small percentage of startups in Southeast Asia actually have female founders. In 2021, it was also reported that the number of all female fintech founding teams is at a meager 3.1%. And just 1% of these female fintech founders received that venture funding. So Tessa, can you tell us a little bit about what are some of the challenges that you see and experience as a founder, maybe in the tech space more generally, and more specifically in the fintech space, and what have you learned in your time being a founder so far?
Yeah, those are really good questions. I think as a female founder, one really big challenge is this. When you've got whole communities, and a place like Indonesia, we're very social. It's all about networking. It's all about building that network to be able to build your business. When you're a female founder or co-founder as opposed to a male co-founder, sometimes you do get a bit more left out. You don't have that bro bond that you have, the group chats with other bro co-founders. I think that's been a serious challenge, right? So to be able to network, to be able to understand, sharing about, hey, how do you fundraise? How do you make a deck? How do you expand your business? Where are the networks? I think that's been a really massive challenge, right? Getting that mentorship, that's a second thing, right? I think a lot of the guys out there are able to reach out to other colleagues and whatever else. A lot of us, especially a lot of us, are really shy. We don't ask. We don't know who to ask, and because there are not a lot of female leadership, we can't reach out to a lot of other female leaders, right? I mean, I see now in the past 1 to 2 years, more and more female founders coming to reach out to me to ask for help, to ask for investment, to ask feedback about how do you fundraise, to ask about how do you value your company and the likes, and I think it's been really, really amazing. So I think going forward, I'm hoping, especially with these kinds of forums, that things will change for the female founders of the future.
Thank you so much. And maybe, I guess based on that experience, right, I'll throw it to you, and then Nisha, you've been a founder too, so I would love to also hear your perspective on this. But being, you mentioned a little bit about having like peer support, right? Like finding founders that look like you. But in the past, what kind of tangible support has helped you in this journey? And yeah, like what has that been like for you?
Yeah, I think, so I was lucky. Again, I was in QVAT, much like Avina, where a lot of I think the smartest people in Indonesia all who went to QVAT, right? The lists were like, they were at Harvard, MIT, whatever. I was always very like daunted when I first came to join. So I was able to find mentorship there, right? The VP who I used to work with, the partners even, they've been super duper supportive. So that's been able to be extremely helpful in helping me run operations at Zendit, as well as finding the right networks to be able to connect to bank partners and the likes. For example, our first partner, one of the first banks that accepted Zendit as a partner, and imagine This was like 6 years ago, before all the gray hairs, when I still had a baby face. Me and Moses, Moses looked about 12, I looked about 18, was a joke. We'd go to banks and be like, yes, we're gonna bring you volumes. How much? $1 million a day. And they're all like, who are these people, right? So the very first bank who gave us a chance was actually Mandiri. And you know, the Mandiri network came from one of our colleagues, Elma. Her husband worked in Mandiri in the CEO office and was able to connect us. And then they took a chance, right? Which is pretty amazing. So the power of networking, it's super duper important. And yeah, without female support, I was able to tap into colleagues and the likes to be able to kind of grow that business.
Awesome. Nisha, anything to add from that?
Sure, definitely, right? I think in my case, like I didn't have like mentors at all, so that makes it quite difficult. So like when I started being a co-founder, this was back in 2013, in an industry that basically investors write off, right? Like, you know, like OTT, basically like the Netflix clone. It's like, you know, how are you going to get the content? How are you going to do the tech? How are you even, and even if we give you money, how are you even going to deliver? And of the people in the founding team, we have combined 0 hours of media and entertainment experience, right? So basically, people were writing us off. Granted, like I was the only female co-founder, and the rest were male, but that's also something that like we can really bring, right? And I think. And like my experience was that like, okay, so how did you like close a lot of the deals? Like I closed deals with Hollywood. So I worked with like Fox, Warner Brothers, like Disney, and I worked with the US, like closing deals with them, right? Like, and I guess in a way, I was kind of lucky because like they have no idea what you look like. They have no idea how old you are. So they only realized that I was only like in my late 20s after we closed the deal. So they never met me, right? So in terms of like, so how did I handle it? I think a lot of it comes down to, and I think the thing about women is we might know what we're doing, but we don't talk about it, right? Or we might feel shy about it, and that's actually a major drawback, right? So I think my advice is, you know, even if you're not really sure that like you know everything, you know, go for it.
Wow. Yeah, so it sounds like a little bit of what Tessa was talking about was a little bit about the network connectivity, which is again, you know, kind of like it validates what we're doing here today. It's not just an event, but we really want to provide a platform for like-minded and ambitious women to actually come into a room together, but also what Nisha was saying, a little bit more about building that inner confidence as a woman to actually own our voice, right? As women, I think, specifically within Asian culture, sometimes we do tend to suppress our voice because we're like, do we have anything to say? When in reality, we do have a lot to say and taking up that space. Thanks for sharing that. I'd love to pivot a little bit over to the investor perspective, right? Because who's gonna fund our wonderful startups? Well, you have two amazing investors up on here. Vero, wow, so weird saying that still. You've worn many, many different hats in the last X amount of years. I won't name how many years, just so that you know you're young and beautiful, obviously. And you've accomplished so much throughout your career, right? You have been named, it's a long list, amongst Globe Asia's most powerful women in Indonesia, Asia's Changemaker, and Asian of the Year by Channel News Asia. And among, it doesn't stop there, and among the 10 most inspiring women in Indonesia and one of Asia's 48 philanthropies by Forbes. I mean, wow. Many, many incredible accomplishments over the years, and currently you also serve as the chairwoman of AVPN. And you also founded YCAP Ventures, as you mentioned briefly, to better empower sociopreneurs with a women-centered thesis. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey so far and any key learnings that you can share to our wonderful founders this morning?
Yeah, well, it's a 25-year learning journey, so how much time do I have? No. Yeah, well, I guess the beginning of it was the foundation. That was the beginning of it, the very specific calling that I had in my life, just to make a difference, to actually do something greater than yourself. And I think everybody here in this room, especially we're women, we want that kind of actualization, you know. So that was part of it. And of course, for me, partly spiritually, I'm born and raised as Christian, so that's the kind of thing that I need to do to ascribe meaning and purpose in my life. So the purpose, existential, all that. But then YCAP came in, we just had an anniversary, 23.
23 years of YCAP.
That, by the way, is our
I'm
batik
wearing it.
collection.
I'm guilty of wearing
Anyway,
it.
Curcol.
I love it. I love it.
Colongan. Anyway, so that's a 23 years old organization, foundation, just specifically to help children at the bottom of the pyramid. But then we set up Rumah Belajar later, 2003, thinking that those who drop out from the mainstream come back and spend their education with us, which is 10,000 rupiah per month, less than $1 a month. They still drop out. So the problem was, even the education is free, going to school never free. So then we kind of think about it, how was that? And Adele, she was 12 when she did the community development project, that was a SPH thing. And then she asked me to accompany her as a chaperone to a desa, a village not far from SPH actually, in Tangerang. There was no electricity back then. And I was moved by the fact that a 500,000 loan can change their life dramatically. That their income, that daily income from 50,000 can raise up to 70,000 to 100,000. That's double. That's 2x. And with that money, they can buy better food and send their kids to school. So in that community project, I actually was more moved by it. I was inspired. And then we kind of stole the guy who became her sort of like, what is that, like project assistant from the other koperasi, because there was koperasi doing the microfinance. And then Paramat is still with us until now, believed in this. And then I thought, how is it that we can use this to make sure that my students will not drop out anymore? So then we tried out in the mothers community of our students. Then we saw the potential. Then I guess, long story short, we was structured as a koperasi, then we were structured as the venture, then that OJK regulation came in, and it was a natural sort of like progress from financing to impact investing, and now more focus in women as well, helping not only women founders, but also women who actually have businesses that supports other women. And that's just something that we love to do from the venture side of YCAP. But that's just the whole, I guess, combination. YCAP being a social enterprise, when you call a social enterprise, it's just a management sort of like structure. There is no structure in Indonesia except, other countries, they do have a structure that gives you the tax incentive and tariffs and all of that. But here, we're just operating it with a double entity kind of organization, with foundation owning the ventures own everything else. So that's just it. But I guess I agree with both of you. At the end of the day, it's networking, it's the support from the peers, and also mentoring. So I also part of this Resource International program, and that's actually a mentor, specific mentor, women to women kind of leader. It's a structured mentorship program, by the way, and I've been privileged to be, one of it. And of course, AVPN again is the Asian Venture Philanthropy Network. Is the network of the do-gooders, right? And not only we want to do good, but we want to do good well. Wow. So that's important, because when you're doing good well, it talks about sustainability element into that, because you can't just see doing something at this point as an activity, but you want to have a perpetual sort of like impact, a continuous, not only sustaining your work, but thriving in whatever you do. So what you do really, impact the lives of millions out there. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. Statistically, one of the things that I read as I was preparing for this panel was fully realizing that, there is a 30% higher chance of, when women build businesses, that it will actually contribute to the SDGs by nature. By default, women are thinking about the future. And so it is so important to be funding women. It is so important to be investing in women. And I guess alongside this wonderful investor, I would love to kind of turn it over to you, Avina, who just became partner at East Ventures. Can we give her a round of applause? It has been such a joy, personally, even for me, to learn from you and everything that you bring to the table. I want to read something that I found relatively startling. So, a recent Deal Street report that just came out last month revealed that about 77% of venture investors headquartered in Southeast Asia do not have a single woman in an investment decision-making role. 77%. What does investment decision-making mean? In this term, it's actually talking about being able to lead deals, sign checks, and actually sit on company boards. So it's not just having someone performative, right, on the partnership level. So Avina, you are one of the very few women decision makers in Southeast Asia, and you've been in this investment space for over a decade now. What progress do you think has been made regarding this ecosystem when it comes to equity, and what do you think has changed over the last few years, if anything?
Good question, Stacy. Very interesting. So actually, looking back the past decade, where Tessa and I were working together, I think none of the partners there were women. Out of 7, and even the principal and junior partners, none of them are women. So I think we're very proud. There is a progress made in the past decade. I think we see a lot more female leaders and founders and VCs as well, especially in this room today. So we do see a little bit more progress. We think there's still a lot more progress to be made, and that's why we do forum like this to empower and connect more female leaders and founders in this region, right, in Indonesia. I think the other thing that we also see in terms of founders, we were looking at one of East Venture's first fund portfolio, and I think in that fund also we don't see a lot of women. I think we see one portfolio that's female founded, but today we see about 25% of East Venture's portfolio, one of them being Zendit, which is a very big success for East Ventures, is founded or co-founded by women, so 25% of East Ventures portfolio. So from that perspective, we do see good progress going in the right direction, but we see that there is still a lot of work and efforts that we need to work together to grow it forward, because we see, 50% of Indonesian graduates are women, 38% of the workforce are women, but when you look at the CEO and board levels in Indonesia, only 6% of them are women. And that's mind-boggling facts, right? There is so much that we need to progress together, and not just with all the women supporting each other, but we also need to get support from the men's side as well. Because the 50% of our population are men, and 90% of the decision-making powers today are still men. So I think, concurring with all the amazing ladies said here today, having mentors have made significant difference in my career. I had 2 amazing female mentors. I had amazing male mentors as well. So embracing those relationships, even if it's just a 1 or 2 hour conversations, can make a big difference in your career.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ravina. Yeah, so one of the things that I kind of want to move on to is actually this funding process, right? So it's no secret that there's a huge scarcity of funding activity happening for women entrepreneurs, right? Whether it's an all-female team. Tessa and Nisha, both your experiences speak to the fact that you were the only sole co-founder that was a female. So I wanted to, one of the articles that was published this past year was called "In a Banner Year of VC, Women Still Struggle to Get Funding." And the amount of funding that goes to women entrepreneurs has continued to decrease, specifically as a result of the pandemic, struggles of juggling a work-life balance, being a mom, wearing so many different hats. I would love to get Tessa's perspective on this. Have you ever experienced any scrutiny or any discrimination in a setting where you're speaking to investors? And if so, how did you overcome that situation? And what advice do you have for women founders that maybe will struggle or have struggled with these comments?
So I've been really, really fortunate to have some very supportive men, including my co-founders. The CEO and co-founder, Moses, he does a lot of fundraising. Ironically, I actually support mostly on the numbers side, which is traditionally seen as more of a male-dominated strength, right? I don't think I've ever experienced that myself, but I think maybe as a tip to all the female co-founders here today, look, when you're fundraising, you're selling a story, you're selling a dream, right? So there's a lot there about confidence, about being very assured about your business. I think a lot of women, we already question ourselves a lot. So when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to actually selling your business, I think there's a lot that's lacking in confidence. So I think for us women, we have to go out there. We have to be confident about. We have to believe in what we want to sell, right? I think that's number one. Number two, look, I've not experienced this in a fundraising sort of setting, but in other parts, I've experienced being ignored, being thought I was a secretary, being asked, what does a CEO do? Do you do G&A, general and administrative? I was like, what is that even? I had to Google it, right? Because we were a bit smaller then. I've been told, hey, oh, so you're not a CEO like Sheryl Sandberg? You're not quite her because you're not commercial. It's these kinds of microaggressions that you experience in your day-to-day life that I think is probably not rare, right? I'm sure everyone in this room has heard it, experiences before. As a female, I think all we can do is have that thick skin, have that belief in yourself, and be like, I'm here, I'm sitting here today, I'm legit, right? Trust me, I still go off in a corner and go, oh my gosh, am I capable of doing this? Is this for real? Can I actually do this? But you just have to start with going, okay, this person is wrong. I'm here where I am today because I'm capable. And you have to just kind of shrug it off sometimes. You got to fight your battles, right? And have that confidence. And back to fundraising, there's a formula to it, which is why you need to find mentors, right? Avina maybe will say otherwise, but I think a lot of investors invest out of FOMO, for example. So you have to have strategy, right? You have to have a strategy when you do your pitch. Don't do the pitch to the investor that you want most first. Do it with sorry to say, but do it on definitely East Venture would be number one, right? But do it with the tier 2 first that maybe you're kind of like, yeah, maybe they should invest, maybe not. But there's a formula to it. You just got to ask, right? Ask other people who have had this experience before so you can learn from that, right? Okay, I'm gonna practice my pitch here, and then I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna understand what does this investor care about. There's a formula to it, so don't be daunted.
Yeah, wow. I love what you said there about actually being able to, and everyone has referred to this, it's actually being able to partner with men who are willing to be allies, because whether or not we like it, we don't live in a world yet where 50% of founders or 50% of investors are females yet. That is the dream and that is the goal. And I guess maybe kind of piggybacking off of this, like talking about the fundraising process, Avina, you being a partner at East Ventures, launching this initiative with the firm, how do you think, what is the role of venture capitals like East Ventures, and how can we better support women in tech? What initiatives has the firm launched to support women entrepreneurs in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, and what initiatives do you think will continue to be launched to support this?
Thanks, Stacy. So this year, when we launched the Women with Impact program, we have 3 goals in mind. Number 1, we want to create a more inclusive and diverse workplace. Basically, an area whereby more women can work comfortably and doesn't have to face that gender bias, right? In the industry whereby men is still dominated by men. Number 2, we want to also improve the funnel in terms of getting more and meeting more and more female founders. As you heard in the panel today, right, a lot of the investors, the founders, are still male. And from that perspective, we do get preferences inbounds of leads from our networks and our ecosystems, which are majority are men. So events like this is dedicated for a lot of the female founders here to be able to meet the VCs and able to pitch and meet other fellow founders as well in this room to learn and encourage each other to really be the best of yourself, essentially, right? Number 3, we also want to encourage more and more female to really rise up in that ladder. I think we discussed about how women are stuck, right? We were, at the beginning of the career, we were 50%, and then as you go up, we becoming less and less in terms of percentage. So we do want to create this initiative to encourage more women so that we can stay in the workforce and really want to go up and be a decision-making power in this country.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, one of the things we definitely pride ourselves on being at East Ventures is that 52% of our workforce, of our employees, are actually women. So it's not perfect, but we're doing something, right? Like, we're making it a very intentional thing to have actually that balance, and we're getting closer to that equilibrium.
I think to add as well, that 52% is by merit and it's not by design. So
Correct.
when we interview, we look at equal opportunities. We don't decide because you're a female, you're hired to the company, and it's purely by merit. And it's very proud that the statistic says that we are 52% women in the company.
Yes, by merit. Awesome. Well, I kind of want to pivot a little bit here to Vero. You're one of the few women who sit on the board of commissioners, right, in one of Indonesia's largest state-owned microfinance company. And so this is maybe like a practical tip that I would love to get out to the women out here. There's 10 million active customers.
12 million.
12 million, I stand corrected. Can you provide advice for the women founders and leaders here for the leadership journey, and as well as tips for collaborating with SOEs such as PNM?
Yeah, well, I was just in the board of PNM 2018, so not that long ago. For me, the first time going into a state-owned company is really a different feeling than I've been comfortable in the private sectors and foundation, of course, and it was just a learning curve for me. I just didn't want to make any mistakes, and then there's a lot of regulations that we have to really be in compliance with. So I guess working with state-owned company, it's very talent-based, like it's not a gift to everyone. I think not all entrepreneurs as well can actually do that because you need to have a lot of patience. They have a different way of decision making and just longer time of understanding the world outside. I'm actually probably the only private sectors coming into the board as the independent, what they call independent commissioner. So patience is important, number one. Number two, you just have to understand their lingo because they say something and they mean other things. And there's just probably the difference between this ventures world here and the philanthropy world. Yeah. We use the word investment, but we all actually means philanthropic money as well. And the investment is just a word. It's not understanding investment as investment, so we have to really check and recheck what they mean by this when they use the language. And I guess you need to, of course, know the right person that can create the leverage, like your experience, right? Somebody who work in the CEO office and made a way to Mandiri. Otherwise, it's gonna be a long way up, in the chain. Even if you kind of talk about investment and that, you usually try to find a CFO, right? Yeah. But then in some non-profit, a state-owned, the CFO, they kind of rotate. So the ones that making the deal or making the decision may not have the right title kind of thing. So you need to really know who's running the business there. Yeah. And of course, the endorsement from the Minister of BUMN. Yeah. Very important there. Very important. Yeah, and I think hierarchically, if you get to the top, then probably easier down, but you have to be really careful because they get offended as well. Yeah. If you just go right up to the boss of the boss, and then you don't actually create a certain kind of preparation, a fundamental work. So it's important. All that, just culturally, be mindful of the differences private sectors and the state-owned.
Awesome. Knowing how to read the room, I think like being able to deal with ecosystem builders, right? Because I think part of being a founder and a startup is being able to also navigate different relationships, some more comfortable than others, some more challenging than others. And I think that perseverance and patience And again, I think what you really emphasize super well is the importance of that network and being brave to reach out for that initial network, because let's face it, right? Like, some of us don't have that initial connection. And so again, the point of events like this. So speaking about this ecosystem builder, I guess I kind of want one of the last questions to be for Anisha over here, because you know, as a global tech company, you work for Amazon Web Services, and AWS really understands the importance of encouraging women to pursue a career in the tech industry and to create a more diverse and inclusive place of work around the globe. That's like one of the missions. So in 2021, AWS announced a global support for girls in tech, a nonprofit startup that aims to eliminate the gender gap in tech through mentorship training, workshops, and networking opportunities. So at the regional level, Nisha, I would love to hear from you. What programs does AWS have, and how have you been able to support them?
Yes, definitely. Actually, we talk a lot about the importance of networking, right? And that's like the synthesis that we are talking about today. So actually, we just finished basically a 6-month program. So this started from October last year to April this year, incorporating 70 female founders across 8 countries in ASEAN, right? So this 6-month program is basically a female founder mentorship program consisting of 3 tracks. So the first track is a group mentorship, right? Second track, we're bringing in like influencers, for example, the MD of Stripe, for example, right? And then the last track is basically we provide one-on-one mentorship for the women, and obviously, like, you know, the networking across the 70 founders across Southeast Asia as well. And the topics that we include, and we talk a little bit about this, you know, leadership, right? Scalability, business, but not just about that, because I think we women, right, there are other challenges that we need to face. So things like personal development, I think we also find to be very, very useful, right? And I think we don't talk enough about, you know, our, like, you know, work-life balance, personal development, how do you manage all of that? And I think as a result of that, we actually create quite a number of cross-collaboration across female founders across all of ASEAN as well. And we definitely do want to bring that back and have like more female founders to join. And I think that's, you know, the network that AWS can definitely help to bring. And also, in addition to that.
Thank you so much. Yes, the importance of a big and supportive ecosystem from all fronts. I think we covered a lot of really key players that actually help women entrepreneurs that thrive in this ecosystem. So we're gonna be wrapping up, but before I ask my final question to these wonderful ladies, we will also have a Q&A session because we want to provide the opportunity for any of the founders here to ask questions. Encourage you all to take some time to think about anything that you might want to know from the experts. This is the perfect forum and a perfect time to actually practice that owning your voice and being able to step up even in a forum that might seem intimidating. But I'm sure when you ask a question, ladies, I'm telling you, someone else is also thinking about that question. So just ask it, right? So I guess my last question, and I had so many other questions. I had so many pages of questions that I could have asked, but unfortunately time did not permit for that today, which just means that we have to do this again, obviously. I would love for you just to give 1-2 lines max, any advice that you would give to the audience here today. As an investor, as an entrepreneur, any advice that you can give, the most meaningful one that you can think of. And while they sit on it and think about it, you can also think and sit about your questions. Yeah?
Wait, I'm gonna go first.
All right.
It's going last is the worst, right?
Yes,
There's
yes.
a lot of pressure.
Tessa,
So going
I love
first is
it.
probably better.
I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
why she's the entrepreneur, you know? She's prepared. She's ready for this.
So I think, you know, what I see in a lot of women is we're afraid to be a bit more technical. I think a lot of it comes from, you know, when you're young and whatever else, you're not, you know, a lot of guys, people say, hey, you should be in STEM, you should like numbers, you should be good at numbers. A lot of women are not told that that's okay for them. So I think a lot of us are afraid of being technical. What do I mean by being technical? I know a lot of my friends, girlfriends who want to start businesses, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so scared of numbers. I don't know how to price this. I don't know how to calculate this. And that's one of their primary fears. Or maybe startup co-founders are like, oh my God, I don't know how to do technical stuff, as in how do I build an app and whatever else, don't be scared. You can learn. Ask people if you don't know. This is not rocket science. You can learn it. You can read about it. You can listen to podcasts. So just be brave. Take the leap and learn.
All right, I'm just gonna. Anyone who wants to go after that? Yeah, all right, Nish.
I go last.
Ah.
I live longer.
She's
Yes.
brave. She's brave.
She is the
I'm
mother
afraid
of
of being lost.
experience. All right, Nish, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, right, like ask, right? Like I think women, like we don't ask enough. Ask for help. Ask people for things, right? You know, what's the worst thing that can happen? You know, they say no, right? But the thing is, like we're so afraid of asking. But if we don't ask, right, you're not going to get anything. Right? So my advice is, you know, always ask. Even if you think like, oh, they're not going to give it to you, you'll be surprised sometimes. And even if they don't give it to you, you know, you might get like, you know, something that's kind of like, you know, halfway, right? So just to give you a quick example, I used to do this with Paramount Pictures, right? Like Hollywood studios are very well known for like, we're not gonna give out free content on like, you know, on advertising online because it's like, it devalues our content. So, you know, I was like, hey, Paramount, you know how much money you're making from iTunes in Thailand? Like you're charging them at this much, nobody's actually paying for you guys. Right? So like, how about this? This is what we're gonna pay, and this is what we're gonna do. And we want, and you know, given that like, you know, in Europe, right? Like they're actually like showing stuff online and this, and like, you know, we're not gonna call it like, we're gonna put it inside like another like, you know, kind of platform, right? So it's not necessarily going to devalue you. So can we actually like show your content for free?
Awesome.
And they actually said yes. After like, you know, coming back for a little bit, right? So things that like even like the like regional guys, they have to go back to global because they don't think they could do it. But ultimately, you know, even things you don't think you can, is possible. So always ask, even you think it's an exception.
That's good.
Okay, I'll go next.
All right, Avina.
I think my 2 cents is be more aggressive. I think,
I
you know,
love that. Avina, please speak more on that. You get more than a 2-liner, just for you.
Thank you. Yes, you know, be more aggressive when you're raising funding because what we see is, you know, the men are really raising a lot of money for the same business model. Just because one person raised a lot more money than you, they can get a lot more traction than you. Look at Tessa, okay? She's one of the most aggressive lady I've ever met in my career, and look where she is right now. So, you know, be more aggressive in your business. Be more aggressive when you are building a relationship, you know, asking someone, right? Don't be shy to ask someone. Be more aggressive when you are fundraising because, you know, I think if you're raising a relatively small amount of capital and your competitor is raising a much, much bigger amount of capital, you'll see there is a big difference and gap there that you need to meet. So I think that's my 2 cents there.
Awesome.
Yes, that's my turn now. Okay. I just want to say the woman in impact, this is just the lingo between the two worlds, the impact sectors and the financial sectors. What you actually mean by impact. Is it through what you do is impactful? Then that's great. That's your purpose, right? That's fulfilling to you. But remember the impact for the least of God's people, for the people down at the bottom line, at the bottom pyramid, what you can actually do through your business to really move them up to their better welfare. So think about, because to marry the social impact with business, it takes a 2-step kind of thing to succeed, because it's harder. So be mindful about the impact that you, I guess, claim, because there's a lot of impact washing is going on. So beware of that. And number 2, I love the word grit. You just have to be gritty because passion alone is overrated. You need to persevere. You need to work hard for it. Otherwise, it means nothing.
Absolutely. Can we give these ladies an amazing round of applause? I love the advice. Don't afraid to be technical. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Be aggressive. Think about the impact. And also just, I mean, all of these advice are just so practical, right? Like we can all be a little bit braver, we can all be a little bit more vocal, and don't be afraid to get out of your box. So I would love to give the audience, our wonderful entrepreneurs, investors on the ground to ask questions. Oh, we love brave ladies. Okay,
Taking
because
Avina's
I know
advice.
Rati la. Rati, come. You can, oh, you know, absolutely. Introduce yourself. You can do a one pitch on who you are and what you're building.
Hi everyone. I guess before I start with my question, my name is Rati. I'm a co-founder of Base. So at Base, we're creating something that we all love, skincare. I mean, who doesn't love skincare here? I'm pretty sure everyone loves it. So thank you so much for all the speakers for sharing your experience. I was in a constant state of awe in the past 30 minutes. And thank you so much, Ventures, for inviting us as well. I think this is a really, really great platform. So I guess from the conversation earlier, all of us understood that in order for us to have more women in the leadership position, it requires some sort of like a systemic change. It requires a paradigm shift. And me as a leader in my company, I guess one of the things that we would love to learn more here is about if you could share what sort of strategy that previously worked well to promote inclusion in the workplace, and how can we as a leader in our company to promote gender diversity in our company and to have, simply boost and have more women to step up in the leadership position.
Awesome. A little birdie. Can we give Rati a nice clap? It's a clap fest. Thank you so much, Rati, for being the first and bravest. A little bird told me, Tessa, that 40% of the managers in Zendit are women and 14% of the engineers are females. So tell us your magic. How has this happened?
Yeah, I think, look, there are a lot of big systemic changes that we can do that'll be a little bit more long-term. Things like supporting education. Zendit supported, girls in tech by doing mentorship, for example. But there are also policy-related things in your workplace that can be very, very impactful to women. As we know, I think it was Avina who pointed out that a lot of women want to come to work. They want to start, and there are a lot of young women who start out at Zendit. As they progress through their life in terms of getting married, having kids, that's when you see the drop off, right? So policy in the workplace is just as important. Things like, for example, through the pandemic, we at Zendit saw that, hey, for men, you work from home, that's nice. You don't have to get dressed up. You can just open up your laptop and start working. For a lot of women, for whom at home, especially when they have families, there are other tuntutan, what's that like? There are other demands, right? You have to feed the family at home and whatever. And suddenly with COVID, you have to also be a teacher at home. So you've suddenly gone from one job to 3 jobs, doing things like providing. We had this whole initiative of Zen Rantang. So we understood that for a lot of women, cooking at home took a lot of time. And it was a demand that even if you're also working, if both of you are working, the women still need to provide food on the table, right? Actually make the food or order it or whatever. So we start sending food home. And those types of things will help women to stay in the workforce. So I think while you also have these big things that you can do, big gestures, mentoring, coaching, and whatever else, policy making, doing little things like that in the workplace really, really makes an impact.
Wow, so really actual tangible support. It's not just giving them lip service. It's not just giving them, oh, you're gonna be okay as a mom, but actually making meaningful, like in Zendit's case, actually sending food for the family. That's incredible. Anyone else want to chime in on this question?
Yeah, I can add it a little
Sure.
bit as well. So at AWS, we have, as a global policy, like you can basically, depends on the director of your team, and if your job allows it, you can basically allow to work from home full time, if that's something that you want. And a lot of times that especially help women, especially if you have younger kids or just like a babies, that for them to actually continue to work if they choose to. Because I think one of the things that take women out of the workforce the most is, okay, you get pregnant, right? And sometimes like you may leave the workforce. It may not be convenient for you to come back to work, right? Especially if you have a young child, like, okay, 3 months old, 6 months old. Some people might feel like, okay, you don't want to go back to work yet because your baby is still quite young, right? So what we do is we provide, a work from home opportunity, even for people who have like a senior management level, as well, right? So it's not just about like junior level people, and that's something that will really help. And especially with the likes of the pandemic, it has changed the nature of how things work, especially in the tech industry. I think having a hybrid workplace, a fully remote workplace, the flexibility can also help women to facilitate them as well as they actually transition through their adulthood.
Sure. Hurry, you want to chime in last thing?
No, I guess it's agility. I
Okay,
guess in the HR
agility.
policy.
Yeah.
To
Policy.
be inclusive.
I'll add a little bit
Sure.
just to maybe the other side of the policies as well, right? I think doing measurement is very, very important as well to see whether your policies have made a difference in the organization. So one of the things that we do and we encourage our portfolio as well is to do a survey in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, right, in the organization. What is the percentage of women in your organization? What is the percentage of senior managerial level in the organization, as Zendit has done? Right? And then at the top of the organization as well. So that essentially gives a more objective view of whether your policy has worked or not, or what are the things that you need to work on more.
Awesome. Tangible policy. Thank you so much, ladies. Okay, so we are running out of time, but because the only thing standing between now and 2 p.m. is lunch, I think this is a great panel, so I'm gonna just take one more question. Anyone? Okay, we have so many questions. Okay, I'm gonna look at the marketing team. Are we good for 2 more questions?
There are 3.
Three
We
more
can take
questions.
We can take.
Okay, we're just gonna take as you guys are okay, right? Are you hungry yet? No. Okay, we can eat later. It's totally fine. All right, maybe in the back, since you raised your hand. Yeah, go ahead. You can come forward. Yeah, absolutely. Please feel free to intro yourself and what company you represent, and feel free to ask your question.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. And I'm Tias. I'm from Sustaination. So we are an online vertical commerce who sells sustainable products as an alternative for single-use and disposable products. And thank you for all the session. It's been like a wonderful afternoon for me. And this is actually the first event after the pandemic that I joined from the invitation from East Ventures. So thank you, East Ventures, for having me here. And I would like to ask the question with the title here, Women with Impact, and especially when I run this business directly with the impactful towards impactful impact metrics towards the social, economical, and environmental aspects. Often that I'm asked when I pitch to the investors, it's between the profitability and the bottom lines, and also faced by the impact metrics. And yeah, thank you for YCAP. We got initially funded early this year. So thank you, YCAP, and through IWEF programs, Bufero, thank you for believing us. But actually, it's not that much, the pool of the funding, who actually support when we go hand in hand between the profitability, the bottom line, and also the impact. How do you, I would like to have your suggestion here, you have plenty of experience. How do I, pitch to them, to the investors, because we operate in a, different kind of business, because we see the impact measures as important as the bottom line. How are we going to, pitch them and make sure that they can see what we see, we have to achieve the impact metrics as important as the bottom line. Sometimes you just want to see the bottom line is positive, but sometimes, it has to be in balance when we do the women with impact business. So,
great.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll direct this question over to Avina. We'll do one question, one answer, if that's okay, so that we can make room for the other two. Go ahead, Avina.
Okay. Great question, Tias. I think, as venture capital, right, we do have fiduciary duty to our investors to maximize their returns as well. But also at the same time, what we see in our entrepreneurs today, they are very much impact-minded as well, right? So you can make impacts in many, many ways, depending on what the business is operating at. Would love to hear more about Sustaination a bit later. But essentially, we cannot make an investment because you are impactful only. The investment need to make a financial sense as well. and you're being benchmarked across other companies and organizations that are also scaling up their revenue, right? We're not even talking about profitability here. We're talking about tractions and revenue at this stage, right? So I think my advice would be, look at how you can scale the business, look at that bold, audacious goal for your business and how you can grow that significantly, and at the same time also generating impact. Because when your business grows, that means your impact is also growing because you're able to reach a lot more users, you can able to employ more people, and there's a lot of impacts, basically being made in that direction as well, along with the, I think people look at UN SDGs as impact, but there's a lot more than that too. So.
Just quickly on the impact side, I think your impact thesis has to be very clear. Yeah. What is it, the problem that you're trying to find solution, and how your business can actually grow sejajar, like to scale with the business and the impact as well. Yeah. If your impact stays here and your business grows, that's CSR. But if your impact grows like your profit, then that's what make you more impactful kind of business. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Catherine, you had a question, yes? All right. Run, Catherine. All right.
Hi.
Oh, go ahead,
I'm
Catherine.
excited.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to be part of this event by Evie. The whole session was really inspiring. I cannot stop making notes on my phone, and I would love to share the notes to my team. So thank you, Evie, and thank you, all these amazing ladies. My question is, maybe my question would represent the woman, the mother, founder, how to balance out, especially to Buvero, how to balance out your life as a founder, as a business owner, as a mom, as a wife, how to balance out literally, and how to balance it out with your ambition as a woman, because I have a big struggle on that.
I need to learn from Bufero as well.
Yes, and then the second one, how can we use the quality that we have as a woman, because I believe in the quality of the woman, somehow we can use that as a leverage to build our business and to meet with investors. How can we use that in real life? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Okay.
I'll probably respond to the first one, and I'll let the other ladies respond to the second part of the question. Balance. You see, when you think about balance, you always you stay there, nobody moves kind of thing, right? When the fulcrum is right in the middle. But I guess you just have to know where the pressure comes, and then you put a lot more attention. So it's the fulcrum, they say, theory, that when you feel that the pressure comes, then you just have to shift your center to where the pressure comes. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's business. You just have to be, that's agility means. Yeah. You have to be agile. For example, when kids are small, and you can just put them in the bed, babies, you thought it's a lot more work? No, it's less. When they were 14, 15, 16, when they were very hostile, well, you need to put
Adele,
right?
were you
Stacey?
hostile? Oh, no.
Yeah, of course, nobody remembers that.
No.
Only mothers do. You need to shift more attention. Teenagers' time, and that's the golden years, right? 9 to 18, I guess. And then they're going to come back around. There are times, there are seasons in life, in parenting. So you just need to kind of aware of the seasons. You can't force yourself into if they're not speaking to you, for those with bigger, like older children. But when they're young, it's probably easier to be more aggressive. But then you just have to know, because everybody have different shoes, and the kind of pressure that comes into your life is different, so you have to have that agility as well, as much as the parenting style. If you guys are aware of Diana Baumrin from Harvard, she's one of the leading 4-quadrant, authoritarian, authoritative, and all this permissive, neglectful kind of parenting. Every child is different, so you need a different kind of parenting style to each child character at every season of life. So that kind of sensitivity And you can only know by, of course, becoming a mother. But then, of course, you have that kind of sensitivity. I mean, responding quickly to your second part, that you can apply in your workplace because you have that intuition. Then it's actually workable to grow your business as well.
Awesome. I love that. Avina, you want to take it on because you're also a wonderful mother of 2, maybe 3 soon? No, just
Oh,
kidding.
no. Please don't spread that rumor. Okay, so Pharaoh spoke about fulcrum. I'm going to talk about crystal balls. And it's an advice that I got, I think around the time when I was having a baby, basically. The advice is, I look at, as a woman, we juggle a lot of responsibilities in our life, right? And, it's essentially juggling a lot of balls. And we look at work as, one ball, and then social life, another ball, your extended family, and friends, another ball. But for me, family is the crystal ball. So when that ball comes to you in urgent need, you always catch the crystal ball. Because when that breaks, it breaks, right? While the rest, your career, it will bounce back.
Sorry,
By the way,
I'm literally just soaking in that. Go ahead.
I just want to add one more thing, though. Dose of reality. Having a startup is already really, really tough, or having a business. Having a high-growth startup. For those of you who are dreaming big, I think go for it. You're probably going to be a little bit or a lot crazy. The dose of reality is it's going to be really, 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 really hard, especially in the early days. I remember when we were starting out, we had an office that was a house. We were trying to save so much money. We rented a room in the house to another startup who actually went bankrupt, which was a bit upsetting. The reality is 24/7, right?
Wow.
24/7, all the time working. So you need that support system. For me, I didn't have any kids. My husband was there. He understood. You have to have really understanding partners, right, who are there to support you. He understood that I had days when I didn't see him. My friends also understood. At the time, I think we were semi-long distance. And I remember days where I went to visit him. I arrived, saw him, there was a fire at the office, had to drive all the way back, drop everything. That support system is extremely, extremely key, I think.
Wow. Yeah, I think that speaks so well to the agility comment that Vera made. And I love their relationship. I think if you guys get to chat, Adele, who is also here. Adele, you want to just raise your hand quickly? That's Adele. And obviously, if you couldn't tell, we have a long history and relationship, but I think one of the things that's so important that's consistently being emphasized by the woman here is that family is the most important thing, right? At the end of the day, if your family isn't behind you, it's going to be so difficult. And Adele now runs this incredible organization called Rahasia Gadis with 3.3 million women in their reach. And so I love that. I think as a result of you living such an inspirational life to model, it carries out. So ladies, who we are at home, it matters so much because hopefully then our kids will want to walk the same path.
That's the ripple effect.
Absolutely.
I guess. At home, you need to keep creating that.
Absolutely. And Vina, I'm sure your boys will grow up to be like, my mom is the best mom ever.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add to the second question as well, right? What does women bring to the workplace, right? So I think empathy is, is one of the things that women really stands out, and we don't value that enough. So how does empathy works in the workplace? You put, I think what empathy is you put yourself in another person's shoes, right? So for example, if you're doing negotiation, if you're doing partnership, you can, the way empathy can work is, what are their concerns? What is driving them? What are they trying to achieve? So how do you position your partnership or your selling motion, right? Or anything you're trying to, or your collaboration in a way that get them what they want, right? And still get you what you want. And I think that's one thing that women is really good in. It's think win-win, empathy, put yourself in another person's shoes. And a lot of times, you can be aggressive, but because you have empathy, you can get what you want, and you can ask for a lot because they also get what they want because you understand what is really driving the underlying concerns.
Absolutely, empathy, something that is super important as a leader. Okay, I think we had one more question. It's going to be really quick. Did we have one more question? Did anyone want to ask anything? Okay, run. The marketing team is staring at me. All right, we have 7 minutes. I promise it'll be done by 1. It will be done. All right. Are you enjoying yourselves? Can we give one more round of applause to end the day? All right, one more question. The last one.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Lydia. I'm from Social Red. So Social Red basically a marketplace platform that we connect local brand and UMKM to local creators. So we help UMKM and local creators to have a digital presence in social media. And I think my question is quite basic because it said woman with impact. Impact is also talking about leadership. So the question that I want to ask to you guys, because you guys are so amazing and I got a lot of good insight, is what is the best approach or strategies to stand up yourself as a leader while your team is mostly, the age gap is not that long. So for myself, my age is 25 and my team maybe 20 or even 18. So how you can stand up for your team so they can look up to you? Well, I'm having my mentor, Ko Edoza, as the CEO, but somehow I just felt that I'm still not that in his position. So yeah, I just want to ask that. Thank you.
I guess I'm young, but I'm not a panelist. Maybe someone can answer first, and then I can give. Yeah. Maybe how to become. Okay, am I getting this question right? How to become an inspiring leader when your age gap with your worker, like with your employees, are very tight, small.
I think one big thing, right? And this is to be a good leader no matter what the age gap is, right? Number one, you don't have to know everything. You can articulate to people that maybe you don't know the answer either for certain things, and just, hey, let's figure out this problem together, right? Because we're trying to grow this business together. I think that's number one. Number two, I think empowerment can be kind of a buzzword that is overused or thrown around. Give your reports, your employees, whatever you call them, room to be independent, to be making a difference in your company themselves, right? So empower them, right? Let them make the decisions, agree on a certain framework. Hey, this is the guardrail. These are the guardrails. This is the goal we want to achieve. Why don't you figure out how to do it? I think those two things are super important and will make you a great leader no matter the age gap.
And maybe I'll kind of like chime in because I mean the age gap within the EV, it's quite like, you know, we're all friends basically, but I think also the question that you're really asking is how to overcome imposter syndrome maybe. Like, how can I lead when I'm not really that much older or more experienced? And I think that the real distinction here is between your professional and personal life. So in my personal life, I can be friends with my coworkers because I love my coworkers. We call it the EV family for a reason. But professionally, when these are my direct reports, they have to know the distinction between when I'm at work, you're coming to me for certain questions that relate to work, any gaps of information that I can provide maybe in a more managerial perspective is important for me to draw that line. So I think professionalism carries out top down as well. Knowing, I think, the distinction between, oh, I'm hanging out with my coworkers in a casual setting. Totally fine. You can be friends with them and you can still, that empathy piece is really important, right? Part of being a leader is actually knowing how to build trust in the organization, and that comes with being human in front of them. And on the other hand, on the professional side, being able to actually step up and find resources to becoming a better leader, a better mentor, and help them professionally dream about where can we go together and how can I get you there. Maybe that's my feedback. All right, maybe hopefully that's helpful to you. All right, can we just give everyone here a round of applause? Ladies, I'd love to invite you to stand up. Is the photographer ready? Yes, he is ready. All right. Oh, cheers to old coworkers and impact builders. The last one, last but not least. All right, and maybe one with all of the panelists together. All right, ladies. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. All right, I can be in one picture.